o'clock. We have a quorum. We'll call the planning board meeting to order. First up for general information, is it Joe Chang?
Really?
You're the first on the list?
I don't know why I'm on the list.
Oh, okay. You don't have,
Did you sign in paper?
Oh, I thought you meant we had to sign in to attend.
Oh, no, this is,
No,
this is general, Jeff, this is if you have something to question or anything.
No, I came to see their presentation.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Oh.
David Tran,
Where do you want me to stand?
whatever, yes.
So I'm from Chandler Food Market. I guess it's over here.
Yeah, probably because there's been some trouble with the mics. When he speaks, should he speak into the microphone?
That's a great spot. That's a good spot?
Yeah.
Thanks. So I'm from Chandler Food Market. My father's Johnny Tran and my mother's Dane Nguyen. Just recently, they both were getting sick, and we just had the building inspector, I can't remember his name now.
Tim Nyhart.
Yeah, he came through, and we had U-Haul for a short period of time. We stopped doing the U-Haul, and I actually came here to just formally apologize for doing that. We didn't know we had to go to the board about that. The U-Haul said we were all set, we were taken care of, and we had other businesses in Hadley that does U-Haul. They said we were taken care of. So actually, I just came here just to formally apologize, saying we didn't know. I hope this was just a little incident that we didn't.
Are they gone?
They're gone. The vehicles are still there. They're just finishing up.
Okay.
Rounding them up from us, but we're done. I would like to do future jobs in front or within the property, because there is a lot of space that I'm not using. But I just want to just come here and take care of that issue first.
Well, thank you for coming here and thank you for taking care of it.
So,
Yep.
so thank you.
And
No
I wanna
harm, no
say-
foul.
I want to say that he's got the best mangoes in town.
So there's more angles. If you're looking for more.
Because he's the only one?
Better than
Mr. Farmar.
anybody.
This is Kishore Parmar for the Hampton Inn. We're planning to replace our concrete pad and put a compactor where the current dumpster and concrete pad is, and just wondering if there's anything required by us.
Is it gonna be fenced in and stuff like that and hidden from view?
Yes.
Just like the existing one?
Correct.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
So when you say replace, you mean this is like
For the pad.
upkeep?
Yeah, for the pad, the current concrete pad is cracking and it's basically pitting, so we're gonna dig it up, replace it with the same footprint pad and put a compactor there.
Is the
Yeah.
compactor the same size?
It's larger.
How much larger?
About, I think about 15 feet compared to.
What's the yardage of the one you got and what's the yardage you get?
The compactor is probably around 30 yards, and the one we have right now is probably 10 yards.
Larger?
Yes, it's large.
So it's a 40-yarder?
Yes,
Yes, it's gonna sit on basically the same concrete pad and enclosed.
correct.
Okay. So the footprint that you're putting down will be no larger than what you have today?
The concrete footprint won't be larger than the one we have. It'll be the same size.
Be the same size?
Correct.
Yeah.
But the compactor will be bigger, but it'll fit inside the enclosure, it'll be just tight.
Yes, the enclosure will be a little bit longer due to the fences currently small.
Okay,
I would say that's maintenance and doesn't require any action.
I agree.
Good. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
okay. That was easy. It's not 7:15 yet, right? That was too easy. 7:04. What do we got?
We got a few odds in it. We can
All
go to
right.
the back of the agenda.
Okay.
So let's see. Just as a comment, if anyone is here for Eversource, they have been continued to July 18th. We did get a memorandum, originally from David Nixon at the end of May. This one was circulated by the treasurer today. Just as a reminder, they are trying to really get tight with deadlines for the end of the fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I gotta find out.
all FY 2017 revenues into the town clerk no later than June 30th at noon. The last warrant is for, will be signed July 19th. And invoices must be submitted to the accountant by 11 a.m. on that day, and no encumbrances are allowed without basically
Invoice.
invoices, and anything over 200 has to be discussed.
Go ahead.
I did forwarded this to you. It just came in today. So I forwarded it to you, and I forwarded it to Larry at Pioneer Valley Planning Commission.
Okay.
Because we will only have one more meeting. We have a meeting on the 18th of July.
Right.
We're not meeting on the 4th of July. So I told him that unless there was something in the mail today, that he had to get everything to us by that meeting so that we could take care of it.
Now, the 7,600 we got transferred for the scanner. That's this fiscal year, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
So we gotta do something with that.
So we probably do have to encumber that, but
You got an invoice for that?
No, I already bought it, yeah. I just got notified, I was talking to Tim, I'm gonna go see Tim tomorrow about what he needs and what he would like so that we can make sure we get the right stuff. I mean, that's pretty much, I believe, almost an off-the-shelf item.
Yeah, but I mean, if you supposed, they're asking for an invoice, aren't they, Bill, for that?
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
Yeah,
To
so,
encumber.
right.
And I wanna bring up this thing about unpaid taxes. If we could set a policy about that. I was talking to Sue, the collector. Because there was 2 permits that we gave out, that there was probably $40,000 in taxes owed.
Oh, really?
Yep.
So I read the policy, the initial policy that came out, which called for us to notify all the other boards every time someone comes in for anything. And I wrote back and said, that just doesn't work the way we do business, because what we approve administratively, we approve on the spot, like the pad. We can't, the Zoning Act, Chapter 40A, doesn't give us authority to delay things,
But in
to notify. It doesn't matter. 40A, we're governed by the state zoning law, and we have to act within certain times. And if we get slow information back, we can't hold up a special permit or a site plan approval because we haven't heard back.
No, not, you don't have to hold it back. It's contingent on they pay their levies or taxes or whatever they have.
Yeah, we can always put we certainly can put a clause in saying that issuance of the building permit is conditioned on satisfying the building inspector that you are current. But the original version that came out wanted us to notify the collector, the treasurer, maybe a couple of Board of Health, of everything that comes before us. And that's just not feasible.
Right, because there's a big list.
How would we know?
Well,
Well, we know, we got an agenda.
what they're,
You take those
yeah,
names
what
down.
they're telling, except that we have so much that comes in that's off the agenda, what they're saying is they want us to tell them who's coming in so they can check it against their list. Now, Sue used to send a list around of who was in arrears.
Yeah, it depends on what part of the year that is. That could be a big number or a small number. The later in the year, the smaller number.
But as long as, it would be fine for us to check against the list, but
Why can't we use the language contingent upon, this permit is valid, contingent upon that they
Well,
show
it
up with their
won't do
taxes?
much good, because we're just passing the buck to the building inspector. Will he check?
Well, on the little things that we approve administratively, Bill's right, it doesn't work.
You're right.
But as far as
That's true.
anything that we have a public hearing for,
Right.
I haven't been putting notices in the treasurer and the accountant's mailbox, but I can easily put those in their mailboxes, therefore they're notified. We're
Okay.
holding a public hearing on this, for lack of a better word, account. And
that's
it-
reasonable,
And it would be up to them to let us know
Right.
that, hey, they're behind or they're not.
Well,
Well, not so much they're not, but they're behind. They owe us money for
What's-
whatever.
What Sue said, the last meeting, we issued 2 permits, and there was probably 30,000 or better owed the town. And one of them had to go in front of the selectmen for a liquor license, and the owner of the property ran right down and paid $12,000 in real estate tax,
Okay.
you know? I mean, if they owe the town money like that, or you can grant it if contingent on they make an agreement with the town.
Right.
So it's, sometimes people have a hard
No,
time
Jim's
with it.
suggestion is a good one. You're gonna get the
Well,
big problems.
We do both. We put the notice in the appropriate, all the mailbox that we're having this public hearing, and Bill put something in there that the building inspector, the building permit is contingent upon, ensuring that they're up to date on their taxes and fees, or whatever it is.
Yeah, or a bona fide agreement.
Right,
Right.
okay, yeah, something
So,
like that,
actually, what you send out to the legal notice, you send to the newspaper.
correct.
If you just add the collector and the treasurer to that,
Oh, yeah, I make a copy, every legal notice I put into the clerk, the paper that I read here, I can use it right here, this, where is it? This notice right here goes into the mailbox in Town Hall. I can simply add treasurer and accountant and the others to that distribution. That's not a,
or you could just, you don't even have to copy it, just add it to the email, because
oh, I see, I see what you're saying.
yeah, when you're emailing the Gazette and the town clerk
Clerk,
and
just add
me,
them.
just add the.
Add them to that,
Yeah.
that's true too.
Along those same lines, does the Board of Health have to issue a permit before a new restaurant can open in town?
Before it does, of course, it has to happen.
Yeah,
Well,
they inspect,
I thought they did, but I wanted to make sure. This is like.
yeah, they,
They can't
So,
open
so
up.
if the original site plan approval is being violated and a new restaurant is being proposed for a site, could we use the Board of Health as leverage to get the site plan approval back in compliance? And you guys may know what I'm thinking about.
But that's in their ballpark, not
We don't have, we have to,
It's not a jurisdiction.
only the building inspector, zoning enforcement officer can enforce zoning violations.
but we can write them a
Could-
letter.
But my question is, could another board use certain leverage to force compliance?
I would really not want to go down that path.
It would have to be the zoning, it would have to be the building inspector acting as a zoning enforcement officer to do that.
Yep.
It would be like us saying you're out of compliance for these things on the Board of Health.
Well, we're using the treasurer as leverage now to pay the taxes or whatever, so I think we've already.
No,
Well,
the
that-
treasurer is using us as
Yeah,
leverage.
Yeah.
But it's a two-way street, isn't it? This is something to think about. I don't even answer, but you know which site I'm talking about, probably.
You see, I certainly don't wanna get involved in the jurisdiction of the Board of Health or any other board.
Yeah.
You know, you could just start a big
Well, couldn't
argument for
well,
nothing.
couldn't we just write them a letter and saying before you, as you issue this permit, please be advised that the owner of this property is out of violation? of the
But they
current-
can't do anything about it, that's the problem.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to,
Okay,
The building inspector's the enforcing officer.
well,
Anything else, Bill?
let's see, what
Well,
else
it's
did I
not-
have?
It's called
Eversource is
Yeah,
off.
not working.
Oh, I just wanted to mention that in connection with the scanner purchase, John from the back of the room has offered to consult in getting the new scanner set up. So just wanted to thank him for his making the offer.
Thank you.
What are you gonna say?
Let me just say, should I
That's
come up
enough.
there? No, yeah, it's a great machine. You guys are gonna, I haven't seen a stack of plans that you plan to digitize yet, but I'm sure I could offer some input as far as getting it up and running,
Okay,
you know, with the software, cause I'm familiar with all those kinds of software.
Okay.
That deal with those large format printers or scanners. So,
Okay.
I mean, if you got somebody in mind, I understand that too, but I just.
No,
you know,
but
I
the only,
watched it all
we have,
happen.
the only people we have in mind is the building inspector to get his input on what we wanna purchase. Beyond purchasing it, setting it up, we
I
welcome
assume
you.
you're gonna have to get a computer as well as the scanner to go along with it, or it's gonna operate
I'm-
on one of your existing computers?
We're not sure yet.
Not sure yet.
Yeah, we wanna see what the scanner costs. I wanted to get a laptop that we could connect to it. If not, we'll just use one of our own laptops and, put it into a disk of some sort, or a portable hard drive to store the information.
Super. Great.
So, what I will
Keep me
do
posted.
is I will, get you your emails exchanged so that
Okay.
you can work directly on,
Good, all right.
on
thank
that
you.
level.
You're the purchasing guy?
I am,
Okay.
yes,
He's the main
Yeah.
guy here.
yeah. Appreciate,
Great. I'm happy to help.
appreciate your offer, thank you.
Okay.
All right, it's 7:15. The Hadley Planning Board will conduct public hearings on Tuesday, June 20, 2017, beginning at 7:15 PM in the Hadley Senior Center Meeting Room. Purpose of the first hearing is to review the application of Parmar Company for special permit, site plan approval to construct a new 7,000 square foot building at the Hadley Village Barn Shops on Russell Street. The second hearing is to review the application of Amherst Apartments for special permits, site plan approval, and erosion and control to construct a 40,000 square foot parking lot on Russell Street, approximately behind the former Sunoco gas station. Said parking area is for a new apartment complex that will be located in Amherst, but its parking will be in Hadley. The application and plans may be viewed in the town clerk's office during normal business hours, published twice in the Gazette, June 5 and 12. Mr. Darnold.
I don't know whose tripod this is, but I'm gonna use it.
It's all right, we'll charge you a certain
We'll charge
fee for
me,
using it.
This is at Hadley Village Barn location, and, right away. We're proposing, this is starting out well.
We understand you don't do this very often.
Yeah, once or twice. This was the, Hadley Village Barn site, back a while ago, before the, buildings were demolished. And this was essentially what we're considering existing conditions for the site for purposes of drainage and traffic scenario. Basically, the meeting house has been constructed, and these buildings have been, demolished and torn down. And the proposal is to construct a new building at this location. This is Russell Street, this is the main driveway coming in, and this would be the new building at this location. As far as the area of pavement, it's been slightly decreased from what was previously there. So the drainage has not been altered, been slightly improved. This is within the 100-year floodplain, and we've constructed the building such that there's no net loss in flood storage. We're actually excavating a little area up to the north here to compensate for compensatory flood storage. The building meets all setback requirements for side yard and front yard scenario. It has ADA access. The parking ratios, we computed all the parking ratios, so we comply with the parking ratios for the entire parcel, as well as open space. We've calculated the entire open space for the entire parcel. So as far as that goes, the project completely complies with all the zoning requirements and bylaws according to site criteria and site constraints. And this is a rendering of the proposed building. This is standing in the parking lot looking at this would be Route 9 on this side here. It's slightly different, this rendering is slightly different than what we have actually submitted. We do have a handicap ramp in the front of the building on the final plans, which we will give to the board tonight. And that is really a really quick summary.
When you say front, that's actually the side
This is
facing the
side.
parking lot.
This is the Route 9 side here.
Okay.
And this is facing the parking lot.
That's the
So-
main entrance, the side.
The main entrance is the side here.
So the ramp is going to be off the parking lot.
Correct, just to
Okay.
clarify here. Again, this is the entrance from Route 9, this is the side entrance here, and then up there. And then the main entrance would be this location, so in the parking lot, you would enter it here, and we have a ramp coming up here, so slightly different than what the plan would do. That's the only little difference. In doing that, we had to adjust the parking islands a little bit, but that's basically it.
So where's the Latino market on that? Is it
Pardon?
the Latino market?
No, that's Tony Place is over.
It's on the Russell Street side. It's not even.
Yeah, it-
Over here, yeah. It's over
It's
here.
on the other side.
It's over here.
But it's on the same, yeah.
It's
so
over- it's over there.
it's on- Yeah, but that's on that parcel, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very large parcel, it includes the Hampton Inn, the convention center, AAA office, all that.
So is this the beginning of just one building, or you got additional buildings planned for this parcel? It seems like you got.
Right now, this is the only building we have planned.
Yeah.
We're not-
How many additional buildings could you fit into the parcel? I'm just curious.
Right now, I
How many
think
was
we max
there?
out,
We're-
building. If we have to do, we have to knock down some buildings.
We're pretty well maxed out as far as parking
Okay.
areas and open space.
But that's actually less than what was there originally, right?
As far as pavement and buildings, yes. Well, actually, the building's a little bit larger, but the impervious surfaces are a little bit less, and so we're sort of taking some of the pavement, turning it into building, which is actually good from a drainage perspective, because roof drainage is cleaner than, pavement drainage.
All the buildings on site are leased, and nothing is condoed or anything like that, is that correct?
I'll have to ask,
No.
Max that
No.
question.
No.
Okay.
What's on that westerly border? What's there? Is there a
This is,
fence in there? There's greenery
the-
there? What is there?
Here,
Yeah.
that's the, I can't remember, that's the office building,
Coughlin's, two medical buildings.
yeah.
And what's in between there? Nothing?
Grass.
It's pretty open there, yes.
Just
This is the
open?
back of the, these are like office buildings here, it's the back of the building.
But that's more to the front of the building, ain't it? Where's his buildings?
These buildings are a little bit south of that.
There's an outline of them on the,
Doesn't really show too well, this is the same orientation. This is the entire parcel, this is a wood frame structure here, this is a parking lot, basement parking lot here.
So it's south of his,
Pardon?
his building's south of this proposed building?
His building is proposing to go right here, and this is the office building. Two office buildings here.
Kinda like southwest of it, a little bit.
yeah, so the office buildings are down there,
Yeah, there's a series of buildings here.
Okay.
and that's open up to the front, that's,
This is an open driveway
There's-
coming
and a
to the
parking
front,
area up
and
there.
then a parking lot on this side here.
Is there any windows on that west
On the
side of that
back side
building?
of this,
Yeah.
I don't.
Do you have any elevations of?
There are windows, but they're covered.
Come on, the proposed building,
Yeah.
I'll let the architects go.
What is that,
Building department.
what is that thing up in the middle of that
I
building?
knew you were gonna ask that.
No, I just, what is it?
That's his, your
That's for a
version of a
sugar shack or
cupola?
what is
I'm,
that?
I'm gonna turn the building, I'm the outside guy.
You're gonna make some maple syrup there.
Regarding the building, I'll turn it over.
Okay.
What the hell would that look like? I don't know.
That was the original conceptual rendering from a few months ago. So this would be the parking lot view here with the ramp coming up the side, the main entrance, a dormer over the entrance. This is a cupola up here. And we've broken up the facade a bit by adding a water table around the base that it also covers the insulation as it comes up to cover the foundation, which is kind of pulled up because we need to keep the building above the floodplain. And this would be the western elevation, which would be the one you were asking about. So it has 3 large windows. They're blacked out behind, so they're basically false windows. They'll actually have
Why is that
retail
cupola,
space.
it doesn't even look proportioned to that building, it's so shallow, why? Doesn't even look like a cupola, it looks something, reminds me of a sugar shack where they're boiling sugar shack.
Yeah, well,
Maple syrup.
we had done a kind of a survey of other Connecticut River Valley cupolas, and this is something that we found that we
I
thought
haven't
fitting
seen
to the
one on
building.
Route 9 like that.
There may not be one on Route 9.
No, they're cupolas that we're used to.
Yeah,
You're calling that a cupola?
That ain't no cupola.
Well, it breaks up the roof line, which I think is
Well,
all
yeah.
what the requirement is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a variety of cupolas, some are much larger, more ornate, some have, you know, curved swoop roofs, some are little smokestacks sprinkled across the ridge
Yeah.
belt, so.
I don't like that.
What if we put a weather vane on top of it?
No, I kind
like
of
the-
agree with you, John. You gotta make it more of a traditional looking cupola, so.
Well, right, because I mean, that, they got nice
Yeah.
colonial buildings in there, and that thing doesn't look good there.
Has this gone before the historical commission yet?
No, it's, due on
Next week.
next week,
Next
we're
Tuesday.
in front of the commission.
Okay.
And we're also, have not filed with the Conservation Commission yet, we are in floodplain.
Oh, okay, that was my next,
Yeah, so
okay.
we are filing with we had to clean up some of the, previous permits from the certificate of compliance. And so we're filing with the Conservation Commission as well.
What's the elevation for the FEMA regulations at this site?
129,
129?
125.
125.
That
I'll work out
seems
the
more
number.
reasonable, yeah. 125, and so,
The floor is above 125,
What's the parking lot right in front of it?
and about 124.
Okay.
So that's why, the whole area there's right at 124, 125, that's why we were able to scoop a little bit out on the north side to compensate
Com-
for the building.
yeah, okay.
But the whole structure, finished floor will be above floodplain elevation.
The color of that is what you're showing?
Yellow.
The color of the building?
Yeah, I have material samples here, so the base would be a darker color, like this color here.
What is that, a cement board or something?
Yeah, it's a hardy panel cement board,
Yeah.
shiplap, simulated
that's good.
shiplap. And then the trim will be this color, this gray. And then the upper portion will be this color.
Upper portion meaning,
Both the shingles up here and the
Okay.
clapboards here.
so it won't be the yellow that's shown on the drawing.
Correct, correct.
Why did they paint that yellow?
That was an early schematic.
Are you trying to fool us?
Of course not.
Oh, good. Thought you were. But I don't like that cupola, tell you
I
right now.
understand that.
Okay.
Hope you make notes of it.
So are there guidelines for the cupola
No.
form? I
No,
mean,
no, we
council
do not have anything
interested in
that
following?
formal, but just, you know, typically when somebody comes in for a cupola, we've seen stuff like on top of the medical building in Hadley, the Florence
gym.
Savings Bank, climbing gym, stuff like
Sure.
that, okay?
Yeah, I'm familiar with those.
You know, more of a raised type, I mean, I wanna call it more of a contemporary cupola, okay, as
You
opposed
don't
to
have
what
to
you're
put
gonna.
a weather vane with a rooster on it, you can leave that.
Staples gave John Devine a clock in the cupola, but
Yeah.
don't have to get that elaborate.
Something.
Signage, so I see, obviously, there's a sign on the building.
Yep. Sign on the wall here, it ends up at 58 square feet for that main sign and then the entrance.
Just one sign on those facing the parking lot?
I believe there's one, there's a sign at the street.
Well, at the street, yeah, there's like a
Aren't they
little.
allowed to?
They're allowed up to 4, totaling 64 square feet.
Yeah.
So, would they
We
put,
will have one on the Route 9 side and then one with the small sign on the main.
Yep.
You're gonna
yeah.
put a sign on the Route 9?
Well,
I-
On the building.
so in this application, there is one sign allowed for the property, which is that, it has everybody's
But
name
a
on it.
building sign?
He can have a building sign, but they can't have a separate street sign.
No, they can put 2 building signs.
Yeah.
Yes.
They can't exceed 64 square feet.
in total, correct,
Okay.
yeah. So, because I'm just wondering, being that you're facing Route 9, I would think they would want something on the street facing Route 9, as opposed to just the one facing the parking lot. But that's just,
No, he said he wants that.
I think the one on the street is probably more prominent because the proximity to the property line.
Correct.
To the west, there are bushes and no
Yep.
building there, so.
okay.
But that basically, as long as you don't exceed what's allowed, how you decide to use what
Yeah.
you are allowed
So
is up to you.
So on the Have a Village Bryan sign, they're gonna get a small, low,
Yeah.
one
One strip.
strip sign, right,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
Lighting,
We're not proposing to alter any of the parking lot lighting, I don't know if we have any.
We are not changing any light on the parking lot.
Building lights?
building lights?
Yeah, we have a few lights in the soffit plan for this facade. And over here by the exit, we have an exit sign by one of the exits, or exit light, excuse me.
What's, is there any lights,
So
get,
it's-
do you wanna light up those signs on a building?
Yeah, we'll come out of the soffit here,
Mm-hmm,
in the underside of the soffit,
and then shine back down on the,
onto the facade, yeah, wall washer we call it.
mm-hmm. I have no problem with that project, but the cupola, that's the only hang up I got.
I-
Without the right cupola, forget it, okay?
I-
Blacksmith?
I get,
That's easy.
that seems, that seems to be kind of the consensus of the board, that, everything is fine but the cupola.
Actually wouldn't mind if you used the design like that, but if you're trying to emulate a sugar shack cupola, they're bigger.
Right.
So,
It looks like a tobacco bar vent.
That's
Different
right.
story.
He's gonna change it,
fine.
right?
So when you do come back, you're gonna have the,
Yeah,
When you go to the historical commission, I would suggest you have an alternate design for cupola. If you wanna show that one, say we could also do this one, because if you go there with that, they may not appreciate it much more than us.
Okay.
And, that way, if you go to them with, you know, a couple of ideas, options, I'm not sure what you wanna call them, and say, you know, well, this is what we originally planned, but these are some other possibilities, and give them some ideas, leave it at that.
Okay.
You can negotiate as you decide with them, and then come back to us once they give us on the rest of the stuff, and I think you're pretty much all set just for the cupola,
Okay.
okay? So we'll continue to the third Tuesday of July. So if you go to see them next week, you come, because the 4th of July is a Tuesday, the first Tuesday. So come back in a month and we'll take 5 minutes and you'll be all set.
Will you set a date for them?
That would be
7/18.
7/18.
Would you explain to people in the audience that this is in the historical district, and this is why we're concerned with the look?
Well,
You
yeah,
might be
this,
you might be interested in this,
Village
David.
Center Overlay
Village
District.
Center
Yeah,
Overlay
yeah,
District,
you might be
this
interested.
has a little bit set of unique, different standards for architectural appearance. You know, windows with the mullions in them, horizontal siding, shingle style roof, and they meet all of that. And, a roof that has over 75 feet of uninterrupted ridge line needs to be some kind of cupola, break in a roof. Most people use like a cupola of some sort. And, I'll go back to Florence Savings Bank, and the Florence Savings Bank came in with a new store where the old McDonald's used to be. And God bless John Devine was on the board, he says, I think that building needs a cupola.
Yeah.
And the architect says, he kind of frowned on the idea. So John was adamant. He came back to the next scheduled meeting with a cupola, and the architect says, John, you were right, it looks much better. He says, and Florence Savings Bank liked it
Can you
too.
put a tractor on it?
And so that was why when they dedicated the building, they called that the John Devine Cupola. And anyways, so,
But excuse me, just,
so-
the building where International Market is, it's grandfathered because that's how it was. But if he tried to bring some new businesses or change the design of the building, he would have to come back before us in the historical commission.
the
correct?
international, which one? Johnny
my-
Tran?
Yeah.
Is that over 75 feet?
It's a flat roof.
Yeah, you would have to, well,
It's not a,
that's right, that's the old arc welding that was built,
Van Ark building?
Van Ark Welding, yeah, that was years and years ago. That building was put up and converted into, I don't know how many things between then and between the trans owning it.
60s or 70s,
Yep.
wasn't it?
So the short answer, Mike, is the current structure is grandfathered.
Yes,
The current use was actually permitted.
Right.
Change of use is a trigger for site plan approval, but he doesn't have to change the building unless he does renovations that exceed something like half the assessed value. In
Yeah.
that case, you have to bring it into full compliance, which is why when the Nissan dealer wanted to upgrade their operation, they wanted to redesign the Nissan dealership, and we told them that, fine, you can redesign it, but you have to comply with the Village Center Overlay guidelines. if you exceed a certain portion of the assessed value.
I believe when the Trans came in for site plan approval on that building, the Village Center Overlay District was not in effect at the time as well. I believe that was that long ago. So,
I figured you were sitting there to learn something, and these
He
guys can
is.
explain it better than me.
You're gonna be so smart when you leave this meeting, you're not gonna know what
so,
to do with it.
yeah, we'll continue to the July 18th for the Hadley Village Barn small building or accessory building.
When are you going to the Conservation Commission?
We haven't filed yet, so maybe another.
Conservation is, yeah, but that, typically that's not gonna really affect our decision. You're going to historical next week?
Correct.
You're not
Okay.
triggering the erosion and sediment control? Okay.
You know, I think they're not disturbing 40,000 square feet. It's only a 7,000 square foot building.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, and, good, okay. Next one is the Amherst Apartment parking lot. Is that you too?
That's me too.
You too?
You got off easy on the first one, watch this one. Oh, boy.
That's what the parking lot's gonna look like?
Yeah. It's,
Oh, cool.
Good.
Start you off easy. Mark off Berkshire Design. This is for 408 Northampton Road, and we're proposing to construct a parking lot right on the town line to accommodate the entire project. This is the existing condition plan. The parcel is the entire parcel here. The highly black line there is the portion of the property that's located within the town of Hadley. There's really not anything in there as far as construction perspective right now. There's a swimming pool, there's a tree line here, and this section here is all wetlands. So this is the only actually grassed area that we have. Just to show you exactly what the project is, we'll go into some of the minor details in a moment. This is a rendering of the project, again with the heavy black line showing the town line. And so we're here to ask your permission or permit to essentially construct this portion of the parking lot. And again, there's, meets all the zoning requirements. There are no requirements for parking, because we're not having a building on the site. We do meet open space. There are no setback requirements associated with the parking lot. We are close to the property line here, but we are proposing screening and landscaping in this location. We're proposing screening in this location as well. And the entire southerly portion is all wetlands, heavily wooded in the location.
What's the actual address there?
Pardon?
What is the actual
I think
address?
it's 408 Northampton Road.
Northampton Road?
Okay, so it
And
doesn't
parking.
have a Hadley address.
Does not have an Hadley
Doesn't.
address.
But the cars will be parked in Hadley, right?
The cars will be, about half of the parking lot for the project is in the town of Hadley. The other half is obviously in the town of Amherst. The water is coming from Amherst, the sewer goes to Amherst, electricity as well. So again, the only real impact is the construction of this parking lot. Just going over the drainage very quickly without getting into a great amount of detail. Sort of highlighted the drainage for the entire parcel. Again, the heavy black being the parcel limits within the town of Hadley. Basically, southern portion, the easterly portion is draining towards an underground detention system where the water will be cleaned up, released in a level of spreader towards the wetlands of this location. A small portion of the site will be going to an existing culvert which goes underneath the driveway. And a significant portion of the parking lot will go to these large underground detention systems. They're large in a footprint, but the site has very poor soils, high groundwater. So these detention systems are very large footprint, but very shallow because we need the capacity. So we're capturing the water, cleaning it, detaining it, and then again releasing it with a spreader to control the rate of flow and velocity so there's no erosion. So we are, we've been to the Conservation Commission on the project. It's been continued to July 15th, I think.
So this will add,
Mid-July.
all this water's gonna drain to the swamp that's been created by all these development behind Stop and Shop.
This drains this way, continues to go where it's always gone, I think ultimately winds up in Lake Warner, where the ultimate destination is, so.
Where's that culvert? You said that the water, where's it going?
There's an isolated wetland, it's not really isolated wetland, there's a depressed area with a wetland here. There's a 24-inch culvert which goes here, goes underneath Route 9, behind Stop and Shop, and discharges there. We're taking a small amount of drainage area and we're gonna tie it into that. Again, that's all within.
So why are you sending their drainage into Hadley?
Sydney who's drainage?
Amherst drainage into Hadley.
Well, it goes there now. All this drainage goes into this wetland which flows this way today. I mean, so it's.
No,
it's
but
not-
you just referred to the pipe, the 24-inch.
This drainage area is this location here, this drains this area. The rest of the site drains this way, ultimately winds up, there's a nice flowing stream that goes in this location. So
Where's that pipe on? Whose land is that pipe? Is that in Amherst or Hadley?
This pipe,
Yeah.
from here to here, it's in Hadley, from here to here, it's in Amherst. I mean, I've got that backwards.
The other backwards.
Yeah, this is Amherst, that.
And who's gonna maintain that
That's
pipe?
an existing pipe, that's nothing new, that's there. The only thing we're doing is taking a little bit of drainage and tying it into that culvert.
Little bit. What is your little bit?
You want the exact, I've got the drainage
Sure,
calculations.
I want the exact.
Well, Mark, usually in Hadley, that's not allowed to tie a little bit additional, but you're
Well, you
dealing with.
can't tie it
I'm
in.
not saying it's not any additional, this drainage, every drop of water that lands here goes this way anyway, it goes to Hadley no matter what, this water goes from.
Yeah.
west
But that's
east
not,
to west.
that's not a municipal drainage. We wouldn't allow a tie-in to the.
Correct,
to
I
the
thought it was,
municipal.
it's not municipal?
This is on private property here.
Well, then where does it go after that?
Well, I guess to here, it's going across the, Domino's property and then goes underneath Route 9, I'm not sure.
It's gotta go on the Route 9.
Yeah,
Correct.
but that doesn't make it municipal. If
This
it-
isn't a private culvert from here to here, obviously, unless there's an easement I'm not aware of. And as far as the amount of drainage, again, we've made extreme efforts to balance the flows, to make sure the pre and post is equal. In addition to that, each one of these orange dots are, cleaning scenario to make sure the water's clean. So we detain it to make sure it doesn't go any faster, and then make sure we clean it and then check the erosion factors, make sure it doesn't erode downstream areas.
All this land is under one owner?
Yes, is that correct?
One owner owns it?
Currently, yes, it's owned by one. One owner.
Yeah, again, the parcel comes down and includes this area here.
All the way down that whole other one into Hadley, they own all that too? The one person?
Yes, again, the parcel is, this side includes that.
When you originally came before the board, you were describing the scenario with the parking lot for the huge apartment building gonna be located in Hadley, and
They're located.
I emphasized the word park in parking. This looks like a sea of blacktop with very little landscaping and doesn't look at all what I was kind of requesting and hoping for.
We have screen around the exterior. This is a planted, island strip, it's not very wide, we do have.
But even if this were a parking lot in a mall, we wouldn't allow that, because it has to be broken up.
What
The
is- what-
sea of blacktop is what we don't, well, I don't like to see, I'll speak for myself.
What's that screening on the north end? What is that, a fence or is it
This-
arborvitae? What is
No, these
it?
are trees, proposed trees.
So you, in the winter, you can see right through that?
Yes.
No, but, for example, in the mall, you have, the parking lot is just not blacktop, a sea of blacktop. It's broken up with trees and islands and so on and so forth to make it look a little bit
Well, it's,
different.
what is really the site from Route 9 to that parking lot? I mean, there's
You're not gonna.
two or three buildings there.
You've got, this is the Domino's, this is the, Sunoco station. And so as you're going down Route 9, you're gonna see these buildings, you're not gonna see much of the parking lot, and then there will be a road.
Are you gonna have a fence around that perimeter?
Yes.
For safety for the,
Yes,
patrons?
yes.
How high is that fence gonna be?
6 foot high, look like a wrought iron fence. It will be a gated area. There's actually a gate here that you have to have a fob on your car to actually get into it, so it will be a gated area, primarily to, prevent gatherings that we're not really looking forward to. Courtyards are gated as well, just to prevent
Is there any way you guys can plant a greenery on the outside of that fence? An arborvitae, so you can't
That's
see
what
none
we
of
are.
that?
That's what this is. This is a low, a line of plantings here.
What is low? 1 foot, 2 foot, 6 foot? What is
I
it?
believe it's I don't have the planting schedule right here, but I believe it's a 6 foot arborvitae, something of that nature.
And that's gonna run the whole length?
From here to here, yes. And then from here to here, this is existing wooded area, and we're planting a row of trees in this location.
Well, I should think if they put that greenery there, Joe, you're not gonna see none of that from Route 9. And there is gonna be a fence around it, 6-foot fence for the safety of the patrons.
Well, in our bylaws, large parking areas shall be subdivided with landscaping islands, so no paved parking surface shall extend more than 120 feet. So, I mean,
This is 120 feet from here to here. It's probably farther from here to here is, again, that's 120. 2 parking bays is 120. So we do have an island, break it up into 120 foot location.
How many parking areas you need to make that project work
I think
on
we
the
have,
site?
According to the Arizona Valley, you need 2 per dwelling unit, so that would be 262 is 131, units proposed. And I apologize, my name is David Burson, from Bacon Wilson.
You've, never saw you before in our lives.
David Burson from Bacon Wilson, I apologize for just speaking, so I work with Bacon Wilson, and we've been.
You're not one of those attorneys, are you?
I am.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
But I'm one of the good.
That blows my mind.
He's Pete's replacement.
No, he's Tom Reedy's replacement.
Oh,
Is he?
You will likely be coming here as well later tonight.
So how many parking spaces you have in Amherst, and how many parking spaces you have?
About half of the last count, I believe it was approximately 100 and a little less than 130, I think, in Hadley.
Yeah, you get.
But there's a 200 and.
There's 273 total
73
spaces.
proposed.
So it's about.
A little less than half in Hadley.
135 or so approximately.
135? Your figure's 130, and his 135, which one do we
Well,
use?
it's difficult.
Well, it's difficult because
Because some of them are like chopped up, half in Hadley, half in Amherst, so with the official count.
So you call it half a parking lot there? What is that?
So,
There's a line there, town line, you can't park on.
how big is your setback at that point?
From here,
From the structure to the town line?
I don't know if I had to guess. Parking lot's 18, is probably around 15.
Just curious.
We did do, I'm kind of hearing the unasked question, but we did do a bit of research on that question with respect to split lot zoning. And we could not find anything to indicate that a town line is equivalent to a property boundary for purposes of setback requirements.
Well, no, because in stopping, Big Y runs halfway split at Hadley and Amherst.
And
There's a brass bar and a floor.
So what do, we go by boundary line, isn't it?
We go by the boundary line.
Their boundary line.
Right, their property line.
Cause the town line could actually cut that building right in half. What do you do with that?
Oh, no, that would be unbuildable,
Right.
because they couldn't put that,
You have an- you're right.
they couldn't put the building in Hadley for this purpose.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I was just, it's hard to tell, it's a reduced scale, so it's hard to tell exactly how much room there is there.
That's right, the building cannot be in Hadley.
Jim, are we gonna go over the peer review?
Yeah, we did have a peer review. We step through that if you'd like to. Just to let you know, one of the things that are happening, we are going back to the Conservation Commission. I relate everything to you. We went to Conservation Conservation Commission, and this line, wetland line, just to fill you in on what's happening, it was flagged in December of 2016, so a year and a half ago. And the Conservation Commission would like to relook at that line, just because it was flagged so long time ago. And our.
It was flagged when?
In December of 2016, a year and a half ago. 2015, yeah. So, this, we're proposing to construct the parking lot at the Hadley's 35-foot no-build line from a wetlands perspective. And if that line moves, we're gonna have to slightly move this parking lot here, so we're waiting to hear from the commission about what's gonna happen there. And that's, another aspect of that, the peer review letter for both the, Conservation Commission as well as the Planning Board. One of the comments was on the drainage. We're not required by Conservation to take test pits because we're not using these detention basins as infiltration basins. Therefore, you have to have a certain separation or quantify the soils to qualify what the recharge rate is. It's poor soils, but the review engineer suggested that we dig test pits here to quantify exactly where groundwater was, and so we're proposing to do that. We have not done that yet.
Okay.
Those are two of the major things in
The invert, wasn't the invert, was too high? I mean, the pipe exiting the site,
Where, in the water table, Joe?
yes.
Well, they wanted to confirm where the water table was.
Okay, so
We
it-
have approximated where it is. They would like to have test pits to get an actual.
Okay, so that's what it's
The
about.
test pit's gonna determine where that level is.
All right. So that's to be determined.
To be determined.
Okay.
I think everything else was pretty clear. The only things, we did do a complete traffic report for the town of Amherst. We did not supply that to the reviewer for the town of Hadley, but we can supply that to you, obviously, and give it to him as well. And the other thing we have is the lighting. Unfortunately, I don't have the lighting diagram here, but we do have proposed lighting here, and the ISO candles show there is no spill.
Mark, that driveway is going actually through Amherst, not in Hadley, right?
That's correct. This heavy
Right.
black line is, the town line, and the driveway is within the.
So why do we need a traffic
Well,
thing if it's dumping in
we
Amherst?
don't.
We have a traffic report, which we can give you. I can tell you that it analyzes the Route 9 and intersections on Route 9.
Is this primarily proposed to be for students, or is this for regular?
It's for regular, it's for family, it's different bedroom counts on there. It's not restricted to students. You don't have to be a student, anybody can live there.
Okay.
There will be a certain number of required portable units because of the zoning in Amherst. It's going to require that, so absolutely not restricted to anyone.
While you mention that, there's a totally separate question irrelevant to the parking. How does Amherst address affordability on private development like this? Do you know?
I'm going to turn over to my lawyer.
Do you know that question?
My understanding is that there is a 12% requirement, so 12% of the units should be marked as affordable for the Amherst umbrella, and that is, I believe that the affordability components are.
We understand all of that.
Yeah.
The question is who
Designate.
Who implements the
Sure.
affordability?
So-
Is it the developer, or do they have, how do they do that?
So I believe the plan at this point is we've been in conversation with the Amherst Housing Authority, because the hope is that we can keep this local and make sure that the affordable units are being marketed to local residents as opposed to just being on the state register and anybody can apply. I mean, that's, to a certain extent, that has to be the case anyway.
Right.
You can't preclude or.
Keep us posted.
We will certainly keep you posted. as
Yeah,
the rest of the
we're just
process.
curious because we're running into that and with our town and our housing authority from,
And I think they go on, my understanding is that they go on that state register at that higher level, and then we hope to get some more confirmation from local authority that they can kind of insert some influence in the process.
yeah, because our local housing authority is being directed by the state housing authority not to do it for local private developers. That they need to go to either a
Well, he can-
designated agency
he
or
knows.
something like that.
Yep.
And so we're wondering how other towns are handling it, just out of curiosity, because we're going to have some issues with that, and we wanna, we're kind of polling, how are other towns doing it, so that we have some kind of feeling of what we can do, that's all.
Is that project all funded by private funding, or is there state and federal funding in it?
My understanding is it's totally private.
I speak to that actually. So, Todd James, I'm with the, I'm one of the developers. It is all privately funded.
All private funded.
No state.
So being private funded, that could be restricted to Amherst residents only? And not open it up to everybody in the state? Cause I understood if you had state or federal funding in it, then whatever you open for affordable housing opens it up to the whole state.
I think that's if you're claiming, and I'm sorry, I don't wanna be espousing to legal rules that I'm not completely sure of, but I think the way that it works is in terms of the affordability, when the state gets involved, it's when you're asking for specific tax breaks or specific grants for the actual construction of the project, and I don't believe that would be the case here. However, the affordability requirements require that you meet certain criteria, especially, particularly with the town of Amherst zoning bylaws. So I think that being the case, we have to comply with and list them effectively on that that state register, just as part of complying with the Amherst zoning bylaw for purposes of affordability.
Nothing surprises me in Amherst. If they want aliens to run for office, let everything else fly.
When do you anticipate raising the existing buildings, start construction?
So construction hopefully would start January, February next year.
So you've got month leases now, yeah? Is it month leases?
So there'd be, right now the month leases, that's correct.
Other comments from the board?
No, that's, I'm worried about that screening, if that's gonna be 6 foot, then that's what it's gonna be. It's not gonna be, cause other people said they're gonna put 6 foot, they put an 8-inch tree. That's bold.
We'd be glad to have that as a condition of approval, that those screenings shall be a minimum 6 foot high.
So,
And
And maintained.
what, 6 foot on center or what?
Well, I would let that spacing be dictated by a landscape architect who knows what the appropriate spacing.
Well, before you get your permit, let us know.
We will do that.
so you don't have a lighting plan with you, and you don't have the planting plan.
We do have a planning plan, it's actually in the package that we.
Okay.
In this package?
Yes. Planning plan with a schedule. This actually has a schedule here, but it doesn't have the designation for that particular plan.
L
so we can-
101.
And we do have a photometric study, Mark, I'm not sure if that may have been.
Yeah, you do, like, we didn't have a copy of it for them.
We're happy to provide.
So, here's a question I don't have an answer to, and it's not entirely a zoning question, but how are we going to figure out auto excise tax?
I just was asking that question to John.
So, everybody's looking at me. I don't know off the top of my head. I can tell you a little bit more in terms of the plan for this project is for it to essentially be commercial parking. And somehow or other, there's going to be a leasing situation between the entity that controls the parking and the entity that controls the actual residential component of it. So there will be a monetary value associated with the leasing of that actual land. So, I mean, I believe currently it's being taxed at approximately.
No, I'm actually thinking of the auto excise.
I honestly,
Based
I'm
on,
not- yeah,
so,
I'm-
but that's interesting, so there's going to be a
I'm looking
separate
at CS.
leasing entity.
Correct.
Are there going to be assigned spaces?
93 of them.
I'm not sure.
I think it looks like they're staggered.
Probably not.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure if we've gotten that far into.
But the addresses that have the address.
Well, the person will have an Amherst address, but the vehicles will be garaged in Hadley.
Kind of like John Kerry's problem with his boat,
Well, yeah,
same thing.
same thing.
Or if
So,
dogwood, they're
that's,
not even arborvitae.
that would be something,
That's definitely something we will look to have an answer
CS.
for.
yeah, that
Okay,
needs a little more
shrubbery.
exploration, I think, because,
CS.
and we'll certainly talk with our tax
Let's look these
collector and
things up.
assessors about how,
What are those?
Red dogwood, dwarf dogwood,
What the hell is a red dogwood?
dwarf red dogwood.
What is it?
Yep.
I think it's a dogwood tree, it's smaller in color.
It's color red, that's
Is it green?
Pardon? I'm sure it's green, it should probably change its red.
No, is it green all year round?
A dogwood? No.
Within,
Right,
what?
those are dogwood trees that are proposed to be there, not arborvitae.
We would glad to change that to an evergreen source.
5 gallon size, so they're small,
5-gallon size.
5 gallon size, they're not guaranteed, they're not 8 foot. Not if they're 5 gallon, you're not gonna fit an 8 foot tree in a 5 gallon pail.
We'll put some muckets in.
Now,
Those are those trees in the back here. aren't
PA.
they? All the 3-inch caliber. Those ain't
LP.
arborvitaes, those are shade.
You're proposing 3-inch trees,
I know this story.
if you're I'm giving you warning.
And
If
I
you're,
told my staff the same
okay,
thing, so
Pete
I
knows this.
I know this.
Because this, he went through this before, they proposed 3 and 4-inch caliper trees. I says, really? You know how big a 3 and 4-inch caliper tree is, how tall that is? You're proposing 3-inch caliper trees here. I don't care. You propose what you want, but if you're proposing 3-inch, you will put in 3-inch. Okay?
You won't be laughing after you're done with it.
Yeah, because Pete came back to us after I made a big deal about that at one of the other developers, and they reduced it by over half. Because typically a 3 or 4-inch caliper tree, that means roughly, depending, but a general rule of thumb is 3 to 4 feet above the ground, the tree measures 3 to 4 inches in diameter. That means that 3 or 4-inch diameter tree is probably 20 feet to 30 feet tall. That's a mighty big tree to try to transplant and get to grow.
So would that satisfy the board though?
You can,
Whatever you say.
whatever you propose,
we-
we will accept within reason.
All I can tell you, don't do it, man.
Yeah,
No.
you know,
We're gonna have to submit revised plans based upon the conservation.
Right.
Commission And a re-scrutiny of the planting plan
Yeah.
to ensure that.
I used to go Christmas
Yeah,
trees, and
and the lighting, you got the lighting
a
plan
tree
there?
that wide is probably 7 feet, 8 feet.
I don't have it
at
with me.
max.
Oh, okay,
Christmas
you know,
tree.
the shoebox.
not a,
Oh, dogwood?
not a tulip tree,
Okay.
not a pine, not a London plane tree. Okay, these aren't evergreen trees, these are like a maple tree
Okay.
and that kind of
Jim.
stuff.
Are all these trees
Yes.
are local?
Yep, a little different than the shoebox,
Oh,
but the.
Another thing, are all the trees,
Local trees?
local trees by
Local
native
trees
to,
grow
native
better.
to the area?
I believe so. I believe that was the intent, was to have all.
Wait a minute, that's lawyer
Totally in
talk,
that
I
grass.
believe so.
And that's,
Just
yeah,
say,
you know, as the attorney, did not have, a lot of input on the plans that were used, although, I do believe, I recall reference at the Amherst Planning Board, informal meeting where that was discussed and the representation was made. that they would
In
be
Amherst
local.
maybe,
The
Um,
answer is yes. The
Yes.
answer is yes, they will all be local trees. Mark, your firm is doing landscape
Okay.
architecture. The answer is yes, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, and we're following the Amherst has a,
Yeah.
list of acceptable
I would question some of these, you know, Japanese Stewardia, London Plane, Hinuki Falls, Cypress, Korean Feather Red, well, that's probably grass. Sunset Bamboo,
you know anything about these?
Sayonara.
anyway,
Sayonara.
And just so, because at this point, obviously, we
That
are
was
still
so
looking
that-
for input from the board. Can I take these comments to indicate that, at least for those trees along that buffer on Route 9, the board's looking for something evergreen? Is that-
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And the minimum size of 24 feet.
Yeah, I don't want this to get bogged, I don't want this to get bogged down in detail. I mean, basically, you're not hearing any significant objections
Yeah.
to the concept. This is
Yeah.
just,
They're
Fine-tuned.
they're very
And
fine
that's-
details,
and
they
quite
are.
Frankly, since we are still waiting for feedback from, both Hadley Conservation as well as the Amherst Conservation Commission, you know, at this point, we are still taking that feedback and, you know, we're.
Well, I'm still
pushing
not
for it, so.
totally thrilled about the fact we're gonna have a sea of blacktop without any landscaping, but,
Well,
To be
if they
det-
plant the trees out of sight, out of mind, you know, who's it gonna bother? You gonna go over by a helicopter and look at it? I don't care. You know, if you can't see it from the road, and the greenery's nice in the background, then ain't bothering me one bit. I could see it if it's just out in the open, like, you know, Stop and Shop and all that, right?
Is the 18th okay for you on that one too, of July?
When are you going to conservation?
So Hadley Conservation is June 13th.
Yeah, and Amherst.
July 13th.
Did,
Yep.
did you go over everything on this list?
I didn't go in detail, but we can, if you want to step through it, just to
Yeah,
make sure.
I wanna hear your side. I hear him complaining about you, I wanna hear your side.
We can read it out loud and go quickly.
Go ahead, take your time, hurry up.
Alright, one of the first comments is site plan should be on a standard 24 by 36 inch at a scale of 1:20. Our plans are 1:40. The review engineer felt that the scale was appropriate.
Agreed.
For when we get to the actual point of a decision, have a list of waivers.
Okay. Understood. Name of project, locus, date, and scale plan. Plans are not included locus. I think the cover plan, we will include that on the set of plans and make it appropriate. Name and address of the owner of record, developer, and seal of the engineer, landscape architect, or architect. Plans received from the event list the owner of record. We can add the owner of record on the plan. I believe it was on the existing condition plan, but it wasn't on every plan. Location and boundaries of the lot, adjacent ways, and location of owner's names and all adjacent properties and those within 300 feet, and all zoning district boundaries. We do not have a complete list of butters listed on the plans within 300 feet. We can add that as 8.5 by 11 or ask for a waiver.
You don't have to put all the owners, the abutters on, that would get, sometimes it gets awfully messy. As long as we have the abutters plan, that was fine, the abutters list that you have already
List.
supplied.
Is there a name of a contact person on this entire site? For any question that may come up?
I would be me until the project is.
That would be you.
Yes.
Well, you're doing a poor job without this list, so who else is on that list? There's too many questions about the job you did.
Well, I guess to me, it's semantics.
These are normal,
These are normal.
they're not big deals. We have these in almost all, because very few plans come in at a scale of 1 to 36. Most of them are at a different scale because it fits better, otherwise it gets too cumbersome.
So you're saying you can answer any question to deal with that project
Yes,
for the owners?
correct.
Good,
As relates to the site plan, yes.
okay.
We talked about the daily hourly traffic. We have a traffic report. Traffic impact statement, that's also included in the traffic report, which we're glad to supply to the town.
I think we've determined we don't need one,
Right.
so put that on your waiver list.
The erosion sediment control and stormwater management, we had a T-Dale plan which has a location for the owner, for the name of the owner who's gonna be responsible for erosion control, so that was one line left out of this book about who the owner was. Again, a locus map is not only erosion control and sediment plan, we can add a small locus plan on the plan. And we talked about before the estimate of seasonal high groundwater, a test that needs to be conducted in order to determine that seasonal high groundwater. And now, that's not a requirement, that's a suggestion by the review engineer, and we're glad to find that.
I get a question, are you gonna produce, when everything's done and said, are you gonna produce any more runoff into that wetlands than is currently dispensed into it?
Upfront, we will balance the pre and post peak flow rates. The quantity of water will increase. That's normal development, that's the nature of the beast.
But what are you gonna do about it? Cause I worry about downstream flooding, and what would you cause?
We are, these large detention areas that we have, underground detention systems.
That's gonna be on the Amherst side?
Well, it'll be on the Amherst side and some of them on the Hadley side. Those systems we have calculated those as if they are not recharge in the ground, but they are porous, they have open bottoms, and we know that they will recharge, so that actually our calculations are better than what, I mean, the calculations are showing less than what's actually gonna happen. So the real world is gonna be better than our calculations, because we're ignoring the infiltration calculation. So we're encouraging as much water to recharge on into pavement as can possibly go there, based upon those poor soils.
You mentioned that the water's gonna end up in Lake Warner.
Yes.
There's a Save Lake Warner committee that's in Hadley right now.
Lake Warner, that's the pond.
I don't know if you wanna talk to them and see whether or not developers might wanna get
Yeah,
involved with that financially.
We're going to the Conservation Commission, which is highly scrutinizing our drainage calculations. It also gets reviewed by Mass DEP, so our application goes to them as well.
What's the soil in that footprint? What kind of soil? Is there clay underneath there? Is there gravel there? What is it?
It's glacial till,
It's what?
glacial till, so it's a real heavy soil with high groundwater.
So it's not drainable.
It doesn't drain very well though, so
Almost.
most of the water that lands on there drains off already because it has a very poor runoff. It's what they call CD soils from a hydraulic curve.
Does that water over there run across where the Marriott is into that swamp? Is that where that water ends?
I'm not sure where it goes from here, and I truly concentrated on what's leaving our site to make sure the pre and post matched.
Yeah, well, I hope you don't flood anybody downstream. Buy them a canoe or something, in case of emergency.
Yeah, we follow all the standard engineering, not only engineering, but permitting requirements. DEP has very stringent requirements on how the stormwater is supposed to be managed, designed, and constructed.
What good, if that soil underneath doesn't leach water through it, then what good is that underground storage? It fills up and that's what, it's full?
It slows it down. And again, when you pave an area, the water leaves at a much faster rate, a whole lot more water leaves. So essentially,
Right.
you hold it in almost like a bathtub with a small drain.
But you get
so
a
it
trench
drains
over
slowly.
rain, it'll fill it all up.
Correct.
Then what happens?
So it has a small outlet on it, so then it drains slowly between storms. So a lot of water comes in, it fills up, and we have a small outlet there which lets the water release at a very slow rate.
What are those designed for, a 500-year flood, or what is that?
100-year storm.
100-year storm.
So if it overwhelms the drainage system, it's going to just flood the parking lot. We don't care about that.
But
It's
it-
private property.
No, it won't flood the parking, it'll run down, that's all tapered down to the
But-
west, right? That whole parking
But
lot.
this is an example, John, drainage is always a concern, whether it's housing development, commercial development, and we don't have the ability to distinguish, is it gonna work, is it not gonna work? So we have a reputable engineer, plus we have a peer review engineer to make sure that we kind of
Right.
cover those bases on the drainage and make sure it won't flood people downstream, and to make sure that there is adequate.
Well,
some-
why I'm asking this, Joe, because as everything's developed and developed, all that water is going down somewhere the same path, and downstream, whoever's downstream gets the brunt of it. It's not the guy that's upstream, it's downstream. So that's basically what I'm concerned with.
Long Island Sound.
Yeah.
Just, you mentioned the 100-year flood. What's the elevation on Route 9, right across from Applebee's? Would you have a guess? Somebody said in 1938 that the Mount Warner backed up across Route 9. Just curiosity. Pardon?
I mean, Chili's.
Applebee's. A little further down where Route 9 just...
Applebee's by Howard Johnson.
Yeah. There was actually a USGS benchmark on that bridge crossing right there. I don't know exactly what that elevation is.
Okay, so we'll look there?
Yeah. But there is again, USGS benchmark there.
Where is it? Where's the benchmark?
There's a culvert.
The culvert
Culvert right there. and I know
between the
there's
Marriott and
USGS
Applebee's.
benchmark.
Okay. So there's a US, right on that, there's a bronze
Bronze disc there.
disc right there. I never knew that.
You probably can look it on a USGS map. They'll have an X there.
Yeah.
Where that bridge is at, and I'll give you the exact elevation of what that bridge is.
I never knew there was one there. Okay.
Thank you for the point of
Okay.
information.
Anything else? Okay.
Just, between now and then, we will supply you with you don't want the traffic report?
We don't need the traffic report.
And we will provide you with a lighting diagram, and we will address the USAC associated.
You have any idea, like, how many lights are gonna be there? No?
They'll have that, they'll have that.
They have a-
We have a planning, lighting.
Did you see the light fixture that he's showing? I passed it down. It's not a shoebox, Jim, but it does,
Yeah, it's an LED down.
Close
Yes,
to
it's
it,
the equivalent of a shoebox, it's a little bit different shape.
Pointed down, it doesn't.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's the little,
There's no spillover with those lights?
Correct.
They're down.
They are very,
Yeah.
very focused. Each one of those individual lights are actually can be focused individually rather than just have.
what's the wattage on that, just for the heck of it, do you know?
I think the second and third page tells you what the wattage is.
height,
I believe we're requesting a 20-foot high pole. I know the standard is.
18
12.
watts, so a number of LEDs.
But same thing, we can put 12 poles in there, but we'll put twice as many if we do that, so. prefer to put
41 watts. 41 watts for a single brick, my God. Compared to the old,
200 watt, 500 watt sodiums,
yeah.
and these are better lights.
And it's brighter than everything else.
In the last 20 years.
yeah, you put the poles in the waiver.
Yeah.
And we'd want to be sure that you will not see the glare or the bulbs.
Okay?
I'd just like to say, I thought you did a good job in this presentation. And as Bill said, these things are not abnormal in the letter. So I'm sure John didn't mean it, he just.
Sure I did, what the hell you mean? I meant every word I said.
I've seen 10 pages many times.
Right? Right, Mark?
Yes.
Attaboy. Don't let the door slap you. Okay.
Okay.
Do you guys know what's going on with the former Sunoco's? Do I see them?
That's going to be a medical marijuana facility.
Really?
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 That was approved about a little year ago?
It's the name of it's Happy Valley, so
Happy-
anybody in the
hap-
valley.
happy-
can be
hap-
happy.
Happy Valley Compassion Center.
Hey, keep the party going, right?
Yes.
I heard that, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, it was
What the hell are you
medical
laughing at? They're
marijuana.
putting 3 or 4 in Amherst. You guys are gonna be a lot happier there.
The wind goes west though.
Yeah, it's,
I guess it will be.
yeah, it's only a for sale facility. They're not gonna be growing anything there. And,
Everybody's
Yeah,
gonna be growing in their backyards.
they're moving forward with it.
It was legalized recently in Massachusetts. I've been out of state for a long time.
Well, the medical marijuana was approved, what, 3 years ago?
Then you
Okay,
got
5 years
recreational
ago.
marijuana.
And regular marijuana was approved last year, but they have still, the state is still putting together the regulations on how to sell it and tax it.
death.
But so you can own it, but you're gonna go to the black market to buy it.
Then you can grow so much.
They're gonna love Massachusetts.
But you can go on also the Amherst Common and smoke pot there, no problem. Cops, make sure you don't get in trouble.
So it's
Yeah.
medical, I guess there would be a lot of people needing medical attention.
Exactly.
We'll wait and see.
You get some kind of
We're
attention.
only zoning here.
I was told the guy on Market Street in Northampton is doing $2 million a month in medical marijuana. Yeah,
They're running out of product.
yeah, $2 million a month.
Where's it at? Neta, New England Treatment Access, by Con Street. But they have a site in Brookline as well, and I know that.
Beets growing squash.
Yeah, they're growing it in, a lot of it is being done in either Butler building type plants or converted mills.
Yeah, most, that's probably the only place you can grow it is in
That's
an
what I told
enclosed
them.
building. It's not being grown in the open fields.
I told the selectmen to bite Montgomery Rose. Imagine the pot you could raise in that place. Huh?
Anyway,
Nobody would have to pay tax in the town. Exactly.
Okay, continue to the 18th.
yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay. Anything else?
Let's see what's left on the agenda.
We don't have any minutes to approve.
I think we have to, do we have to vote to approve the reserve fund?
We did, we voted last time to review.
Okay.
We voted last month to do it. I signed it.
Okay.
I signed the
Reserve, the transfer form?
Transfer, yep.
Okay. So then the discussion topics. A couple of things. I got a call from an insurance agent. There's it's Gosbury, but it's actually Gooseberry. Gooseberry Lane, at the very end, the developer apparently got a surety bond.
Okay.
And he has asked to have that released. And since the road has been accepted by the town, we have no basis for keeping it, so.
Okay, oh. Okay, that one.
Who's that, Berkham's?
Yep.
Okay, Gooseberry, right.
That's the one the town accepted at the last town meeting?
Correct.
Yeah.
So I will make a motion to release the surety bond.
For Gooseberry.
Bond on Gooseberry.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Very good.
Okay, and then John wanted us to discuss and/or vote on whether we'll require peer approval for upcoming town projects. Well, you just asked for the fire substation, but I think
Right.
it applies to the others as well.
Well, not really, because Mark Donald with, they're the one that designing the drainage system and everything else, and they're on our peer review list. You don't know another engineering firm that comes from either Springfield or somewhere, what kind of work they do. They have no record with us. So I certainly wouldn't want
A blanket exemption?
to ask
Okay.
to exempt them. If they have history with us, they have history with the town, and, you know, what I got out of them, that it could cost up to $5,000 more in our budget to pay for peer review.
Yeah, I wouldn't, it sounds like a good idea, but I wouldn't give it a blanket exemption. Sometimes the drainage is a tricky problem.
Not
You
under
don't- you don't want to
MS
exempt
Joe,
drainage.
Not under MS4 now, the whole thing has changed. Nothing can go off-site. That has changed with the MS4 drainage. And I just.
Well, so you're
It's a case
saying,
by case. This has nothing to do with a blanket overall rubber stamp everything that comes into Hadley. Because again, if an engineer has no history for what, and anybody could hire any kind of engineer, they could do basically anything they want, and I wouldn't feel comfortable without a peer
So
review.
I'll make a motion to waive peer review for the North Hadley Fire Substation on the basis that the town work is being done by Berkshire Design.
Motion a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes
I
unanimously.
should maybe abstain on that because I'm on the committee.
401.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One abstention. Okay.
Okay. So no minutes, no bills, no correspondence, or we talked about a few of those things.
Right.
I don't know, that viewscape protections, I just had that on there because that is an issue that has come up with the Eversource project, but I think it's really a bigger issue that we can discuss. We do have it in the master plan update.
I was gonna say, that sounds like something we could use Larry on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I
that's-
thought of something else on this peer review thing. Because now it's in front of the selectmen and they wanna move a site, that's probably a better perk site. But if something happens that they change engineers for any reason, I would not want.
Well, he's got it specifically.
I have on the
Specifically
basis-
mentioning because we're using Berkshire Design, it's
Right,
waived.
Yep.
okay, so it just,
Right,
we don't get buffaloed.
yep,
Yep.
yep.
Okay, so defer viewscape protections to PVPC. And I think that is everything that I have.
I get a question. When this board releases bonds for a developer that's doing a subdivision or whatever, does that release ever happen before a town meeting acceptance?
Subdivisions used to be.
Used to be.
Because if a developer put in the road according to our specifications, we had no reason
But
to withhold that last lot or that
the
bond.
point is, they do it at that time, but it's their responsibility to take it to a town meeting.
Now we have it at that way.
Under the new
Well, yeah.
subdivision regs, that's all been addressed.
That's all
Yeah.
taken care of.
And to release it, like, I certainly don't wanna see a developer come back and say, under their project, there's something wrong with the road and the taxpayer's gotta pay for it. The
Right.
hell with that.
Right,
They gotta pay for that.
That's right, that's been addressed under the new
Wait a minute,
subdivision
but
regs.
Johnny-
Under the old plan, we got stuck a couple of times.
So the state law
The-
says
that-
we can take a performance bond to secure the due completion of the improvements,
Entire site.
But it just says, once it is done, the developer's entitled to the money back.
But what encourages him to take it to town meeting?
Right.
And not make a Holly Road deal?
Nothing. Under the state law doesn't talk about that. And most of the time, the developer is only too happy to give the road to the town. But because we had a few problems, we changed the subdivision regulations for going forward. So the one that's coming up for preliminary review in a month is the first one that's been filed under the new regulations. Actually, maybe Quinlan's was, no, we hadn't adopted it quite yet. So the new regulations say that as part of the application, not as part of cleaning up afterwards, but as part of getting a hearing scheduled, the developer has to either give us a deed in advance or say that the road will never be presented to the town.
And he will maintain it.
And he will maintain it.
Yeah.
So that, we won't schedule a hearing because that's now part of the checklist of what is a complete application.
Right. We can't fall into another Holly Road deal.
This has to go with the Eversource thing. Last week, I called Eversource's office up and asked for the Chief Executive Officer's office. And I never got through to him, but I wanted to invite him to the next meeting, July 18th. And I'd like him to talk as to why this particular site on Moody Bridge Road is critical for Eversource's green energy, sustainability, electricity. And I was wondering if we might send a letter, just telling them to come and tell us what the corporate strategy is and why this site is crucial to their development of green energy. Would anybody object to that?
I certainly would second that motion.
I don't see that that's part of a zoning decision.
Well,
We're elected politically, and this is a political decision.
We are elected to administer Chapter 40A.
And we want to make sure that we're
referenced
making
that.
sure that, see, my point is that I think that this site that they've chosen could never meet site plan approval because it's an inappropriate site for a solar field. And my question, I guess, is because we have a mechanism within the law, within the zoning bylaw to achieve site plan approval, does that mean every site will achieve site plan approval? Because some of those qualifications within that bylaw are subjective, i.e. properly screened is a subjective.
That is true.
Subjective, it's very subjective.
That's where we get elected to.
So what's the harm of Mike's idea? He wants to talk to somebody at the meeting.
Just let's
What-
see if he wants to come.
What's the harm in that?
Send him a letter.
The harm is it's taking us away from our job, which is to review the
Collecting
application.
information.
I think
We have an application in front of us. We are not a grand jury doing an inquisition here. We have an application in front of us.
Right.
We can either approve the application or deny the application.
Based on zoning.
Based on zoning, based on what they present. I don't think that we really need to have,
Well, are any planning boards in the state a minor political force or not?
I thought the
Yep.
state is in process of changing the laws on this, and I just heard the other day, some of these solar arrays are never hooked up for the grid, it's just the deductions they get in the tax credits and all this other stuff. This is what I heard the other day. I
Oh,
don't know how true that is.
I have no idea how that could
Yeah.
be. Because it's got to be hooked to the grid to get the credits.
I just don't think we should shy from being a minor political force if
I don't think that.
there's nothing in the law that says we can't do that. And all we're doing is trying to get some public information out to the public.
Whether, how it fits into their business plan, in my opinion, has nothing to do with zoning.
Well, they've told us that they're trying to negotiate with, the,
Kestrel Trust.
Right, Kestrel Trust to get another piece of property, so that's public information. They've talked about it right here.
There's
And
public
so why can't we
Yep.
get him and talk about that a little further? Who's conducting those negotiations?
You know, they.
that is beyond the scope of a special permit public hearing.
I agree with that.
But
You can vote for or against the project on the basis of anything you want, but we can't create a kangaroo court here just because we have their attention for a permit.
I've been in kangaroo courts before, this wouldn't be a kangaroo court.
Well,
They had 'em in the-
but we
they had 'em
need to
in
base,
buses.
we need to base our decision on
I
zoning.
understand. I was just asking a question.
okay,
Because
that's fine.
I think we could be a political force if we picked the right spot to do it, and we certainly kind of did it with, Five Colleges, Inc.
I do not wish to be, I
As
do
long-
not
as
wish
long-
to turn
as
this
long- as
board
long as
into
we
a
get the-
political
as long as we-
force.
As long as we get the proper motion made.
Why, you
as
don't want
Mr.
no
Dwyer
protest
did in
or
that
anything
case,
like that?
We
I-
can become a force.
If we're protested, I want to be protested, and we've been protested plenty on our zoning issues.
You have?
Oh, yeah. When Walmart came in, we had massive protesting.
Oh, you mean out in the street against the planning board?
Well, at least in
Or
the
just
the
against-
full cafeteria.
Full cafeteria, in the press, in the street,
Oh,
yes.
boy.
Yeah, we had our share of issues, we had our share of protesting when Walmart was coming
So you
in.
want everything nice and quiet now?
When the very
You
first,
wanna retire to a quiet zone?
whatever comes up, I will deal with on a zoning, on a zoning face.
Now, it looks like.
Anything
I
else?
looks like I lost, but I thought.
Move we adjourn.
As I
My
have,
question was, are there any planning boards that are a little more politically aggressive in the state? We would know that than we are?
You'd have to ask Larry, that. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. There may be, good question, I don't know. Larry might
Okay.
ask, that's a good, that would be one for Larry.
So as I've said a couple of times, Mike, to people who have made comments from the audience, it's a fair comment,
Yeah.
but it's a comment for town meeting, not for a public hearing.
Right.
But I still would like to hear what he has to say in a public hearing. He runs the company.
Suggest the DPU bring him in. There's a motion to adjourn.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is history. Thank you, and thank you,
John.
John.
Big John.
Have a good 4th of July, everybody.
All right.